Hi, and welcome to Life Part 2. I'm Karen Potts. I'm known as the Passion Mentor. For the last 10 years, I've been studying passion, and I've written several books, including the brand new book, The Law of Passion. For the next 10 years, I'm 60 now, I'm going to study manifestation. I just became certified as a manifestation coach. Now, my speech is imperfect. I was born with normal hearing. I grew up hard of hearing, and at the age of 19, I became deaf from a fall while barefoot water skiing as a teen. At the age of 44, I got back on the water again after meeting a 66-year-old barefoot water skier named Judy Myers. She introduced me to Keith St. Ange, and I barefooted competitively for 4 years. And I am still barefooting at the age of 60, although it's all for fun now. So as a passion mentor and as a manifestation coach, I help people have more fun, more joy, more adventure in the second half of life. So if you take my course, it's called Life Part 2. And in that course, I teach people how to create more joy, fun, and adventure in the second half of life, so that when you get to the end of your life and you look back, you can say, oh, what an amazing life. That's the goal. So my journey to manifestation has had many mentors along the last 13 years. And I think it was in April of this year, 2025, I was feeling like I was plateauing. I was stuck. Life was good, but I wanted more. I wanted to take living to the next level. And so I wrote it down in my journal, and everyone should have a journal, by the way. I wrote it down in my journal that I wanted to find somebody local, somebody nearby where I could go and have coffee and learn from them. And you know how Facebook is always listening to you, right? So on Facebook, this ad showed up for a manifestation coach, and he was local. And it just so happened that he was having a workshop on the law of attraction in my town 2 days later. I immediately signed up for it. When I went to the workshop, I instantly knew within the first 10-15 minutes that I wanted to be mentored by this manifestation coach. He had studied with Bob Proctor. He was local. He was living a very similar lifestyle to what I wanted: time, freedom, the ability to help many people. And that's what I wanted. So I signed up and I started working with my local manifestation coach. And this was in May. On June 13th, in my manifestation journal, I wrote down 3 things that I wanted. And this was June 13th. The first thing I wanted was a boat that I could barefoot water ski. Several different boats showed up, but they were not the right boat. I had a boat in my mind, the brand, what kind of motor I wanted, what kind of toys I wanted on the boat. In July 4th, we were at a friend's house on the lake, and we had just gotten done paddleboarding. So when I came off, I started scrolling through Facebook, and this boat came up. It was exactly the kind of boat I wanted. It was 90 miles away, on the way home. So I said to my husband, what do you think? He's like, let's go take a look at the boat. The next thing we knew, we had a boat in our garage. We bought the boat. It was the right price, the right boat, and the right reason. I wanted a boat that someone didn't have to sell, and it just so happened that the person who owned the boat had passed away and was a former barefoot water skier. So that was my first taste of manifestation very rapidly, how quickly that showed up. So I moved on to the next one in the list, the lake house. I wanted a lake house. But here's the thing. I live in a state that is extremely expensive. My husband had retired. I was working as a teacher, life coach. We had just built a brand new house a few years ago. So the idea of buying a second home just seemed impossible. The taxes in our state, the prices on this lake that I really wanted to be on. But here's rule number one in manifestation. Do not limit yourself. That is rule number one. When you are beginning the process of learning manifestation, it can seem so different to learn all these new things. But the number one thing is, do not limit yourself. We have spent our entire lives being exposed to different things and being taught to have common sense and, to live within our means and, be realistic. Those messages that we grow up with, they also limit us. So we think something's impossible. And if you think it's impossible, it will be impossible. So the first thing with manifestation is to look within. What do you really want? What is your heart desiring? And I wanted a lake house. And here's the thing, because I turned 60 years old, I wanted a lake house now, not later. I did not want another summer to go by without having a lake house. But again, it seemed impossible. I went back to that rule. Don't think in limits. No limits. The South is not limited. That's rule number one. And so I wrote this down and I let it go. It's not my job to figure out how. My job is to figure out what's in my heart. That's your job with manifestation, is to figure out what's in your heart, what you know to be true for you. That's the thing. So remember, again, this was written down on June 13th. Well, here we are in December, and we're closing on a lake house. Now, how it came about, the universe delivered the solution for me. And that's the thing with manifestation, is that the universe, God, your higher power, your spiritual being is going to line up with you when you have aligned action. Manifestation, there's a science behind it. And the thing is, you've got to believe in no limits. In other words, when we put a limit on what we think we can do, we try to come up with solutions ourselves. And the solutions are probably bigger than what we can even imagine. So that's the thing about manifestation, and that's what I have learned very quickly. It took me 12 weeks to study manifestation and become certified. I took a little bit of longer time because I took a slower pace. I really wanted to really study this and really absorb manifestation. The word, I was fascinated with it, manifest. The idea that we can take the invisible and make it visible, that's manifestation. And that's the thing. So my journey into manifestation happened very rapidly. It was just almost like, wow, I couldn't believe that's what we call a quantum leap in manifestation. These are all new words for me that I'm learning, but I'm learning them quickly. So here's the thing. We have been manifesting our entire lives. Our entire lives we have been manifesting. Yeah, think about that. From the time we're born, we learn to think about what we want and, okay, I'm hungry, food appears. Manifestation. We are creating our lives by the thoughts we think, by the attitudes we have, by the actions we take, and what we believe to be true for ourselves. Those are 4 things. And those 4 things, you can control them. So we are always manifesting. Every single day, every moment of our lives. And when you think about it, if we're manifesting, we're also manifesting the stress that we're experiencing in our lives. And I teach stress management at a local university. So I teach that when stress comes in our life, we also have the ability to address the stress in our life. Often we blame stress on external, components. But internally, we can address stress. We can attract peace in our soul by those 4 things that I mentioned. A response to the thoughts that we have, our attitudes, our actions, and what we believe to be true. Now, with manifestation, I'm now sharing it, teaching it, and coaching it with other people now. If you're interested in learning more about manifestation and how we can work together, leave a comment. Comment that you're interested. I'll reach out, we'll connect. My goal is to help a large number of people find more joy, more fun, more adventure. Of course, do it all with passion so that you can create a whole new life part 2 in your life. You're only one decision away from creating an entirely new path in life. One decision. And how do I know that? Well, if you remember from my story, I was born with no hearing, I grew up hard of hearing, and I became deaf from barefoot water skiing as a teen. I struggled tremendously during that very dark time in my life. But I woke up one day, and I remember this vividly. I'm laying in bed. I had considered ending my life the night before. I was really struggling. I was really in a dark place. But I woke up that next morning, and I made a decision. The decision was that I was going to embrace life as a deaf person. I was tired of struggling. I was tired of hiding my hearing aid. I had one hearing aid at that time, and I always hid it. I never talked about it. It was a hard thing for me to deal with, so I couldn't really talk about it with people. But that morning, I woke up, and I made a decision. And that decision changed my entire life. It brought me peace in my soul. Because when you decide to embrace your journey, that's when it really begins. It really begins then. Because you make a decision to embrace peace in your heart, and things start happening. People show up in your life. Opportunities show up. Synchronicities start happening. You start getting signs that show that you are on the right path in life. But it begins with peace in your soul. And speaking of which, peace in your soul, I also have a workshop that you can come to. And it's called Manifesting Peace in Your Soul. The link is below. Imagine what your life would feel like with more joy, more fun, more adventure. Imagine what your life would feel like with peace in your soul. Imagine what your life would feel like on your own manifestation journey where you learn how to align your heart, your mind, your soul with what you want and see it appearing in your life. If that's you, let's talk. Again, you're only one decision away from an entirely new life, an entirely new path. One decision away from creating a life part 2. I've got the tools to help you. And here's the thing. Life, as we say, is incredibly short. It's almost cliche when we say that. But if you could fast forward your life to your later birthdays and look back at your life, what do you want to see? That's the beauty of manifestation, is creating a life you really, truly love. And begin with that.